This afternoon we're chatting about Delta Opticals. Is that the right word?
Delta Optical.
Optical. Delta has both binoculars and rifle scopes. So this afternoon we're talking to Paul Luff. He is the importer that brings in Delta. And we're also going to talk to Kofu Kwapi. He's ambassador for Delta. And also, I hope I say that right, Perry de Gavea.
No, it is Perry de Gavea. Yeah.
Okay, so welcome, and thank you for talking to me this afternoon.
No, it's a pleasure.
So where does Delta originate from? And it's a relatively new brand in terms of some of the older scopes?
Well, I'd say Delta as a brand is relatively new, but it's been in Europe far longer than it's been in South Africa. We started importing Delta Optical about 6 years ago into South Africa, and then it was a completely new brand. Not well known amongst many of the shooters. And yes, it has been quite a struggle to get the brand in there, but it's now starting to take flame.
Why did Powder Keg specifically start bringing in the, and how did you go about it?
Okay. David De Silva, the owner of the Powder Keg, lives in Slovenia, and he has access to a lot of product over there, and we were looking for a value brand in South Africa at that time. Now, most of us know the old standard brands, but there was nothing new. We needed something that would fit the right price bracket and to help get existing shooters into better product and new shooters into the market without having to spend a fortune.
Because some of the scopes are very, very expensive.
Correct.
So the entry level is quite high. How does Delta as a brand perform in Europe then? You've touched on that.
Delta is one of the fast growing brands in Europe and is a force to be reckoned with. In South Africa we're getting there right now, but definitely in Europe, if you go into some of the periodicals that are published in Europe, you'll actually see Delta all over the place over there. So they're doing very well there and in South Africa now.
Okay, so you're trying to break into the sport shooting. I know that in terms of bigger scopes for long range, that is obviously optics is really important. But a new thing in especially handguns is optics on handguns. So
well,
where do you think you're going in that direction?
We already do very well in the long range shooting and in hunting scopes. And we're also trying to break into the market now, specifically on the red dots, the tactical type market. That is a market that's dominated by a couple of brands at the moment.
Absolutely.
But what we're seeing is guys that investigate it a bit more start looking at the alternatives that are out there. We've tested some of the product, like this Desert Eagle over here mounted with a Delta red dot, and it performs fine. There's quite a bit of recoil. This is a 357, and it actually stands up pretty well to this. This gets tested quite a lot, and we haven't had anything break on these yet. We've actually got one on one of our ambassadors' Glocks over here. This here just shows that it is absolutely ideal. It's small, it's unobtrusive, yet it actually works. Now this is Kofu's gun, and we're going to be chatting to Kofu later, so you can tell you a little bit more about this.
Okay. So yeah, you're talking about the 357, and that is the big problem that I've personally found with optics on handguns. It's fine to have an optic on a rifle or a shotgun even, but on handguns with that slide moving backwards and forwards, if that optic doesn't hold up, it's not going to hold up.
Well, this is why we tested it on a Desert Eagle first.
Yeah.
There's a lot of recoil. It travels quite a long distance on the side, and when it goes back into battery, there's quite a lot of shock, and we haven't had any issues yet.
That's actually really, really good, because I've had problems with an old optic that I actually tried to put on one of my handguns, and with the battery shifted, and especially on the handgun, it was fine on my long rifle, but didn't want to work on my handgun specifically.
Well, I would suggest that you actually try one of these
I will do sometime. Tell us a bit more about that. What's it? The 2 mile, the King of the 2 mile.
King of 2 mile.
Involved in it.
It's a unique situation. The guy that won it a little while ago, I'm quite sure everybody knows who he is in South Africa. He was an unsolicited shooter, and he was actually running one of the Delta Strikers and won the competition with that. Now, when I say unsolicited, we didn't go out and look for him to actually put it on. He chose it out of his own accord, put it onto his rifle, and actually won the competition. That in itself is testament to the quality of the product and how they actually ensure that they give a reputable, strong product into the market that is not going to fail. Our failure rate on Delta at this stage is very, very low.
So is the support good in South Africa for Delta? If something breaks, things do break?
Things do break. We haven't experienced many breakages over the last 6 years. There have been the odd occasion where something has actually gone wrong, but we swap it out in the instance where it's a very new product. Other than that, we don't really have any issues. We send it over to Delta, they sort it out, they replace it where necessary.
And usually quite a good turnaround time?
Very quick.
Okay, that's good news. Okay, where do you think Delta's going to go in South Africa in the next couple of years?
Well, it's a business that is always looking at new product. They speak to shooters on a continual basis so that they can bring product into the market that actually fits a particular market. Obviously, we've got our first bino rangefinders that are out there, and they are doing very well. They've now got handheld rangefinders, very well priced. One of the biggest problems that we have with Delta is we get questioned on the quality because it's so well priced. I shoot one, this is my rifle over here. I haven't had any issues with this product, and this particular scope has actually been in a bucket of water frozen for a period of weeks on purpose.
Okay.
Was actually frozen, then removed, and then tested with absolutely no problems. Now, it wasn't us doing it, it was a journalist that actually did that down in Cape Town when they actually started testing these, and this is the same scope, absolutely no problems with it whatsoever.
Well, that's excellent news. Anything else that you would like to add at this stage?
Not much, other than we are actually proud of Delta. We believe that it's a product that's going to grow. The popularity is growing. We see it all the time. Our brand ambassadors out there do very well with the product. And yeah, I think that it can only promise things that they can actually deliver. So we don't import something from Europe that is going to fail in a couple of days. We can't afford that. The turnaround time, although fast, still has to go to Europe, and we still run with the customs issues like anybody else. So yeah, I think Delta's going to do well in South Africa.
That's good news. I actually want to go back to another point. You actually sponsored one of your binoculars.
Yeah.
Also, it looks really good quality. So you've got quite a wide variety of Delta products.
Well,
at this stage,
they do a range of binoculars. They do a range of scopes, a range of tactical type products, red dots. Some of them geared specifically for tactical shotguns. Some of them geared for pistols. We even have some of the red dots mounted on 470 nitro doubles. These are for specifically for professional hunters that want to shoot fast, and they shoot them a hell of a lot, and no hassles yet. So yeah, it's definitely on the reliable side.
Thank you very much. Thanks for talking to me this afternoon.
Pleasure.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Khofu. We've known each other for quite some time.
Yeah, it's been
But
a while.
can you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself and where you started getting interested in guns, etc., etc.?
So I started shooting at a very young age. I come from a family of gun.
I know a lot of your family.
Yeah, pretty much.
They're all shooters.
I usually like to tell the story that, as soon as I moved out of the house and I found my own place, my father came over for a drive, and one of the first things that he asked me was, "So have you got a gun yet?" And I said no, and he looked at me like, like something's wrong with me, And then I started doing the whole competency thing, proficiency training, and I got my first Glock. I wanted to get an HK, but that was a bit too much.
I'm glad you didn't, because they're so expensive.
Yeah, they were
magazines and
expensive quite a
spares.
bit, yeah. And then I got myself a Glock 19, generation 3, and started shooting from there. Learned about sport shooting, and all of that, and I've pretty much been doing it since.
Okay, great. So when did you get involved in Delta, and what are you basically going to do for them?
So I got introduced to Delta by you actually, and I met Paul Love part of Cake. I think it was around Feb or so, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And then we had a chat, met with the guys, and saw the product, loved them. Great pricing, reliable, well-designed stuff. Because I had also been looking at some other products, but having as much as sort of battle. And I just sort of fell in love with the brand, and what it stands for, pretty much, and that's how I got into it. Yeah.
Okay, I see that you've got a optic on your trusted Glock. Is it the Gen 3?
Yes, I'm going to pick this up. It's
Yeah.
safe, no magazine inside, just to show everyone. So this is the Glock 19 with the mini dot HT24. Very pretty little thing. This I had fitted on the Glock.
So you're going to just start shooting that very soon, am I correct?
I should have started yesterday.
But your lockdown has made
Yeah,
all kinds of problems.
Yeah.
It's very difficult. I wish you luck with. It takes some time to get used to an optic on a pistol, but we'll be on the range together, and I'll be able to shoot your gun a couple of times to see how it works.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, from what I've sort of seen, it's very easy to pick up the dot.
I've looked at it a bit earlier today, and it was actually really easy to pick up the dot. It's not like some of my club members always say it's chasing the angry firefly, trying to get the optic.
That was one of my biggest fear. And I mean, when I came across this, this was like pretty much.
So maybe we'll see. It might not take 3,000 rounds for one for you
No,
to get used
it'll
to.
take that long. No, definitely not that long. I mean, this is a superb piece of product. Yeah. I'm looking forward to shooting
Anything
it.
else that you would like to add? What else are you going to be involved in except with pistols?
Hulu, looking at getting some Hulu stuff. I love the products. I think it's totally amazing. And just doing great work with Delta and getting the product out there. I think more people need to get this on their guns. What you pay and what you get, it's totally amazing. And I'm looking forward to that.
Hopefully we'll be on the range one of these Thursdays soon, and you can try out your new optic.
Definitely. I'm looking forward to that. It feels like it's been ages with this lockdown, not being on the range.
Thank you very much, Porfu, and we'll speak to each other soon.
Only a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Perry. How are you doing this afternoon?
Fantastic, and how are you?
Also fine, thanks. Thank you for talking to me. Tell me a little bit about yourself before we start talking about Delta Optical.
Fantastic. I started shooting in about 2006. My father introduced me to SADPA and started shooting handgun.
Okay, that's where I know you from. From SADPA days.
Yes, and eventually we branched out into rifle, and I competed in the first precision rifle event down in Cape Town. And when it came up to Johannesburg, I partook in it again, and I fell in love with the sport. And from there, I decided I'm going to take it seriously, and invested in equipment and bought myself a Delta, which then turned into a ambassadorship. And so far, I'm undefeated in the factory division.
That's absolutely fantastic. So tell me, so you've moved away from pistol shooting mostly competitively, or you're only mostly concentrating on this?
I'm concentrating on rifle shooting at the expense of doing both at the moment.
It's very expensive in South Africa right now. Tell me, what gun are you shooting and what optic are you using, and why did you choose both?
Fantastic. I'm shooting a Sabati STR in 260 Remington with a Gen 1 striker, SkyPod, and other than that, it's a completely factory rifle. I chose this purely because ergonomically it works for me, and weight-wise, at 7.5 kilos all in, it's not too much to muscle around, whereas some of the other guys will run upwards of 14 kilos for a rifle scope combination, and this seems to be a happy medium. Cartridge-wise, the 260, good old faithful, still hasn't been dethroned, so I'm happy with this setup as is. And with the factory rifles, the 28-inch Sabati, we can cut them back as much as we want, but having the full length of a 28-inch to start with gives us a great advantage for speed. So
Yeah, it makes a big difference, especially for longer shots and stuff.
absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know a lot about bolt actions. My first bolt action I only got a couple of years ago, which is the Trevelo CMS. So I just found it's very different from other sport shooting because it's quite complicated. You have to work out all kinds of things. It's not like you're just going to sit down and pull the trigger.
Absolutely.
So do you do a lot of preparation in terms of development of your load development and stuff?
So I'm personally not that responsible for it. My father Savas is,
Okay.
and I'm simply
Pull the trigger.
I pull the trigger and work out the data. So that is where I come into play.
I've always also the same with me. I can pull the trigger quite well. Most of the other stuff gets worked out by other people for me. So
Absolutely.
Yeah. So tell me, why do you specifically like Delta? Have you had any problems with it? Would you suggest it? Would you recommend it to other people?
So I've been an ambassador for Delta now since 2019, beginning of 2019. Since I owned a Delta prior to that for about 6 months prior, I cannot recommend these scopes highly enough. Price point, they're right in the middle of the road. Quality, they're at the top end. The tracking is perfect. The glass is crystal clear. I have had no issues with them at all. I'm on my 4th one. I had to buy a new rifle for a new scope because I went through another Delta. And I just can't get enough of them. I'm trying to find reasons to buy more of them.
Absolutely. When is your next big competition, especially in the COVID times?
So the next big match, we have the first weekend of August, as long as COVID behaves, and then SA Champs in September.
So where's the first match?
In Limpopo, in Marble Hall in Limpopo, and then SA Champs is at Hippo Creek.
So I hope we can get out of Gauteng.
Absolutely.
Anyway, good luck.
Thank you.
And thank you for talking to me.
Absolutely. Thank you very
Okay.
much.